What's going on, guys? Mr. Salazar here. Today we're at a local lake, local to me lake in Washington State, and I'm taking a break from the river fishing for a weekend, and we'll try to catch some trout, see if any bluegill or anything will bite out of here. I was out here like November, I think, and people were catching bluegill and stuff pretty good, but I've looked at the hatchery reports because they stock this lake, and in the last 2 weeks they've stocked it with almost 60 steelhead and over 3,000 trout. So in theory, fishing should be good, but theory doesn't always work out like that. So on this lake you can use 2 rods at a time if you have the 2-rod endorsement. So I brought 3 rods with me today. I typically always take 3 rods with me no matter where I'm going, just so that way I don't have to change up hardly ever. On my first rod here, this is going to be my power bait rod. So what I have is a 7-foot ultralight, fast action, and I have a C20 Okuma Ceymar reel, and then for my line it's 10-pound gray reaction tackle. I just spooled that up. You can get that off Amazon. And then what I have on my line here is a 1/2 ounce egg sinker to a bead chain. And the reason I put the bead chain is because I like using that better than using like a swivel. So egg sinker, bead chain. And then I go down to a size, I want to say it's a size 16 eagle claw treble hook, and a big fish just rolled right here off the bank. And then what I'll put on here is I'll end up putting power bait. It's a dough bait, and it makes it suspend off the bottom. And my leader is about a 2-foot leader, so it'll be about 2 feet off the bottom. My next rod is a bobber setup, and I'm gonna put worms on here. And how I have that set up is the same thing. It's a C20 Okuma Ceymar reel, and then I put on a fluoro bumper with a knot I like to use, and it is a carrot knot, which is just another connection knot between 2 lines. I'll take a picture of it later and show you guys. It just looks like a carrot tied all together. And then I did probably 10 feet of the bumper. And then for my bobber, I have a black bobber stop right there. And I order these off Amazon. I order a lot of stuff off Amazon. And then I have my green bead down to a corky on top of my bobber, down to another green bead, and then to my inline weight. The reason I do the corky is to make sure that my stuff is working properly, because my bobber's not sitting upright, then I'll see the corky laying off to the side. And then I have about 12 to 16 inch leader down to a bait hook. And what I'm gonna do is just put a worm on here. We're gonna start with that. Start with the worm. And then for my last rod, it is once again a 7-foot, but this time it's a medium, not an ultralight. And on this one I have Low-Vis gray, so the line's a little bit darker. And then once again I use the carrot knot and about a 10-foot leader of 6-pound, 6 or 8-pound Yo-Zuri bumper, Yo-Zuri Fluorocarbon hybrid. And then I have that down to a swivel here. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I have that down to a swivel right there. And I'm going to use this for spinners. Might use a couple crankbaits, like shallow diving crankbaits. see if any fish will, if I can get that reaction bite out of any of the fish. But I'll only do that if the bobber isn't working or if the power bait isn't working. Alright, let's get out on the water and hopefully it's a fishy day. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do this morning is throw in some power bait. What I have here is this white and orange garlic scented power bait. I'm going to take my worms out also. Brand new. Oh, that's the top one. Wow. It's very important when you come out here, you never leave any garbage. And truthfully, you want to take any garbage you find and leave it better than you found it. I'm going to take a glob of power bait, roll it up into a ball. And my hook isn't very big today, so probably don't even need this much power bait. Usually using a little bit bigger of a hook. But you just take your ball, push it on top of your hook, form it. I like to do a teardrop form, kind of like that. And then what I always do before I cast out is I dip it in the water, make sure it floats. Yeah, it's floating. Okay, we're gonna cast this out. Oh. It's not gonna cast out if it's wrapped around the tip. Okay, it's going. Still sinking. Okay, it just hit bottom. I'm gonna put this in my rod holder over here. Like I said, you're allowed to use 2 poles here. So while that's soaking, I'm gonna use my bobber rod with some worm on it. And if this thing goes off, if I see it go off, or if I hear it go off, because I brought bells today. I usually don't bring bells, but this morning I said, hey, that might be helpful. Especially fishing 2 rods. So now if we hear that jingle, we'll know there's a fish on there. Okay, I know that one's fishing. And that took quite a while to drop right there. So I'm gonna set my bobber rod probably to about 2 feet. So from here to my hook is gonna be about 2 feet. So starting here, all the way down to my hook. Then I'm going to take a piece of worm. And these worms are big, so I'm not going to use the whole thing. Let's go like that. So when I'm using worms, what I like to do is not use the whole thing, obviously, but start below the top. Sometimes the worm makes it a little bit harder than it needs to be. But, so just start threading that on there. And then I'll push that up to completely hide the hook, like that. So you can see the hook there. And this is a bait holder hook, so it shouldn't slide off. Plus I haven't pinched the barb on it, so we should be okay in that aspect. I'm just gonna try right here, out here in the front real quick. This time I'm going with original scent orange, fluorescent orange. Okay, it's floating. Now let's cast this out. Hopefully I can avoid all these trees. Looks like I did. Okay, we got our bell. Just gotta listen to the bell. Okay guys, as you can see, I switched spots again. It's been a rough day. I haven't seen anybody hook anything today. I mean, I took the trail around the lake, went around the whole lake, fished 6 different spots. There's a bunch of people up here on the docks. When I came back to the front, and nobody had hooked anything. So we're gonna give the power bait a few more minutes. I ended up making my leader longer. I went from 2 feet to probably about 4 feet, because every time I reeled it in, there's a bunch of grass on it. So trying to get it above the grass. One thing that's very important that I try to preach to everybody though is when you come out here, pick up your garbage. I had a snack, popcorners, and then just on this one dock, I picked up all that garbage. Bags it's very important when you come out here and you're doing stuff like this, you pick up your garbage. That's how we lose access to things like this. Alright, I'll pick you guys up if anything exciting happens. Otherwise, this will probably be the end of the video. Well, there you have it guys. This is the end of the day. It was a really slow day. I don't know that I saw anybody catch a fish today. The cormorants have been catching quite a few fish, but other than them, I don't think anybody has. But that's part of fishing. That's part of the chase. Is some days you have really good days, and some days It's not that it's a bad day, you just didn't have that much luck that day. Because any day fishing's a good day, honestly. Well, that's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you have a good one. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. And I'll see you in the next one.